friends, welcome. It is such an honor to be speaking to you all on this momentous occasion, the day of your graduation, the Academy's 38th commencement. I say that not only because it is always an honor to speak to our graduating class, but because you all are special to me, personally. I remember telling you that during our 9th grade art classes, class of 2020, you will graduate from this place 20 years after I did. How cool! And you all looking at me a little sideways. Like, BZ, it's not all about you. In fact, I'm almost certain Zev just straight up said that to me at one point. And you're right, it's not. I've digressed already. This is about you. You who have brought such humor, albeit sometimes of a flavor I wish you would use in less public spaces, such love, such bravery, from the kind it takes to kayak in hostile waters, to the kind it takes to protest a hostile society, to the kind it takes to tackle a hostile amount of academic work. Such compassion and talent to our community. You who were the models of exemplary leadership and stoicism during these last few challenging months when we were all at home. But that's the thing, isn't it? You haven't been completely at home. Bear with me, I'd already had this idea for my speech before I'd heard all of yours, seniors. Because a big part of your home for however many years you've been with us is this place, and it's each other. And as much as we have tried and succeeded to be this place, and to be ourselves for each other on the other sides of our screens, we all know it doesn't really hold a candle to the in-person experience. I'm not a big believer in shoulds. They often just get in the way of life lived in the present. But it's hard not to think in terms of should, in this case, when it comes to traditions. I should have been able to gather you all in Euphronius just before we processed out to the tent to give you Altoids and a pep talk. You probably didn't know that's a thing, but I felt like you should know, since we couldn't do it. We should be under that big, beautiful tent with everyone, with you feeling their love and admiration emanating all around you. And I'll tell you, it makes me just want to curse or plain curl up and cry to think of how much you should be able to hug each other when this is over today. Despite it being hard to not think in such terms, these shoulds are doing just what I wanted them not to do, interfering with savoring what we do have in this current moment. The truth is, we are lucky to be able to do even this, all things considered. And that emanating love from your broader community is here. It is that strong that it can be felt across the miles between us all. And what is about to happen, in the intangible sense, happens regardless of how distant we must be from one another right now. You are about to become alumni. You will join hundreds of others. Can you imagine that someday someone in my place might say thousands? In this cohort of people who all understand this place in a way that you just can't when you're a student. You're probably starting to now. You've had a leg up on other alums by being forced away from campus this spring. But it takes real time and distance and becoming parts of other communities to fully get how precious this institution and its ethos is. I'm not saying it's perfect, but there is something about academy life that is remarkably sweet. And let's be clear, and you know this, it's not always easy. By being in this tiny, warm place that insists on civility and respect, you've had to learn how to cope with people and with ideas and expectations that are not necessarily those which you would choose to do so. There was no flying under the radar, putting your head down and sliding through unnoticed, or talking only to people you really like. You have had to bring energy, enthusiasm, effort, respect, tolerance, and celebration no matter what else you had going on in your lives. I can't tell you how invaluable that skill has been for me in my adult life, over and over again. And again, something you already possess as you step into alumnihood is the home you have in one another. These friendships you have woven so tightly will continue to give you shelter throughout your lives, so long as you choose to allow them to do so. I encourage you to do so. Your high school years have occurred at a remarkable time in our nation's history. Together you have reckoned with so much unfolding in the world around you. You will need each other to remind yourselves of what it took to make it through these years, to imagine impending adulthood together. You can help each other remember what it takes to make this kind of community, a making I hope you will seek to do wherever you go. You will recall needing to support one another across so many disciplines, pursuits, and activities in response to our demand for well-rounded individuals. You'll remember what it means to be of service to a friend, to a community, to strangers. And maybe you'll return to be reminded of all this and more. I know current students often roll their eyes at alums returning to campus. I remember doing that too. It feels a bit like, sheesh, you already had your time. Can't we be great now? But know that you are always welcome, and know that we do want to see you, even if you're not ready to return until a later time. I found a quote from Neil Gaiman's American Gods that exemplifies this perfectly. "Will you go back?" asked the Lord of the Gallows. "To America?" "Nothing to go back for," said Shadow, and as he said it, he knew it was a lie. "Things wait for you there," said the old man, "but they will wait until you return." Though you'll never be able to replicate that which you experienced here as a student, things will still wait for you here, whenever you do come back. The cacophony of multiple bands rehearsing, the smells of someone cooking in the HBH, the fringes of notebook paper scattered across the floor of Arado or maybe stuffed in the couch cushions, the snippets of conversation that feel so symbolically academy, people checking in on each other or making jokes about Latin or even in Latin, the sound of someone listening to explicit music a little too loudly in the dark room, or of wet clay slapping onto a wheel. The sight of everyone outside on that first really warm day of spring, splayed out across the fields like reptiles, soaking in the sun. The sound of a teacher speaking a little more loudly than normal, striving to hold the focus of students still in class during those same moments. The raw emotion in the air right before the drama performances, the pure joy of morning meeting announcements when a victory is shared or a birthday recognized. All of that will remain and persist, and will be here, eager to hear what journeys you've been on and what new homes you've found. We will wait until you return. Thank you. So with that, we're going to be presenting your diplomas. Solomon James Shaw Chase. Hope you're really warming up your clapping hands there. You're in it for the long haul. David Amaya Chavez. Rose Grunberg. Nicholas Edward Hallenbeck. Aislinn E. Jewett. Lane Guire Moore. Riley John Osborne. Talos Amadeus Prophet. Kathleen Irong Strakoda. Rory Noah Rosenfeld Sweeting. Katerina Michaela Tobitz. We have one more individual to recognize, but before that, let's have a final round of applause for the class of 2020. And with that, we want to recognize our postgraduate student, Ethan Scott Broussard. All right, now that your vocal cords are all warmed up from that hooting and hollering, we're gonna sing the school song.
Yes!
Woo! It's Mr. Gay's favorite thing.
Yes.
The lyrics are on the backs of your programs. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Viva la
Academia, viva profesores, amate gloria,
Pick it up a That was almost as confusing as when we do that on Zoom. Graduates, newest graduates, so I'm going to be sending you tallest first over to this area of ribbon here. We're going to be setting up this socially distant photograph that's going to magically look like you're all standing right next to each other, because magic. All right, everyone. Well, thank you again so much for being here today and celebrating these wonderful young people.